There was one rule at Queen of Grace Secondary School. Every girl knew it. Nobody wrote it down. Nobody had to. If you hear crying after midnight, do not open your door. Do not call out. Do not look toward the bush. Because what is crying out there, it is not lost. It knows exactly where it is. It is looking for specific people. And the night I arrived at that school, I had no idea. I was about to find out why. My name is Amina. I was 16 years old. I came on a scholarship. And what I found inside those walls, I have never stopped thinking about. This is my story, and it is also hers. Queen of Grace Secondary School sat at the edge of Ijebu Forest, like something the town had built and then quietly tried to forget. I did not know that when I arrived. I thought it was just a school. It was a good school. That is what my parents told themselves. Good results, good discipline, good reputation. What the prospectus did not mention was room 7B, locked for 3 years, and what lived in the forest behind the back fence that we all called the bush, and nobody had ever been found near after sunset. Queen of Grace was a good school. It simply had a secret buried in its soil, and secrets buried in Nigerian soil. I learned this the hard way. Have a way of crying out. Arrived with one bag and no connections. Scholarship girl from a small town 3 hours away. I knew nobody. I asked for nothing. I was used to that arriving places and having to figure everything out on my own. They gave me room 7A directly across the corridor from the locked door of 7B. On my first night, I asked my roommate BC what was in there. She looked at me for a long time. Nobody talks about 7B, she said. She turned off the lights. End of conversation. I had never been told to stop asking questions before. It made me want to ask more. I lay in the dark and noted 3 things. The padlock was newer than the door. The scrub stains at the base of the frame were the color of things people scrub very hard. And BC, who was not a fearful girl, had ended that conversation faster than she had ended any other. I did not know yet that I had been placed in that room for a reason. That certain things find certain people, that I had already been chosen. It was my 3rd night, 2 a.m. I lay still and told myself it was a cat, a night bird. The wind through old pipes. Then I heard it again, and I knew. I knew with the part of the mind that lives below logic, the ancient part built purely for survival, that whatever was making that sound was not an animal. It cried like an infant. But underneath the infant cry, threaded through it like wire through cloth, was something older. Something that had been wronged so completely, it had forgotten how to do anything but cry about it. I know that feeling. I felt that feeling. That is why I recognized it. The amber light stopped outside my door. It did not rattle the handle. It did not scratch the wood. It simply waited, as if it was giving me time to understand something. I did not move. I barely breathed, but I was not afraid the way the other girls were afraid. I was listening. I did not sleep again that night. Neither did Sister Ngozi, whose light burned under her door until morning. The light of someone who knows exactly what is out there and has known for 3 years. I filed that away. I filed everything away. It was BC who finally told me, not because she wanted to, because 3 years of carrying it alone had made her tired in a way that sleep could not fix. I know that kind of tired too. Her name was Chisom, BC said. 3 years ago, SS2, brilliant, smarter than anyone here, scholarship girl, like you. She paused when she said that. Like you, I felt it. She got pregnant. Nobody knew for a long time. She hid it. You know what happens here if they find out? Expelled, scholarship gone, family shamed, everything finished. She went into labor alone, BC said, in 7B, at night. She didn't make a sound. She was too afraid to make a sound. I looked at the bush, and the baby, BC looked at the bush too. I understood without being told. Some things you do not need to hear directly to know. Who knew? I asked. BC looked at her hands. Everyone who should have helped her, she said quietly, and nobody who did. That was when I understood what bush baby was. It was not a haunting, it was a reckoning. And it had been waiting 3 years for the right person to arrive and understand that. This is the part that is hardest to tell, because the cruelty was not loud, it was quiet, measured, administrative, the worst kind. Mrs. Okonkwo had known about Chisom for weeks, and she made a decision not to send her home that would raise questions, not to get her medical help that would raise more, to wait, to manage it quietly, to protect the school's name first. These things sort themselves out, she told Sister Ngozi. I will never forget those words. I was told them secondhand, and they still make my hand shake. And Sister Ngozi, who had her own children to feed, her own job to keep nodded, the most devastating nod in the history of that school. I do not hate Sister Ngozi. I understand her. Understanding and forgiving are not the same thing. Chisom had heard all of it from the corridor. She had come to ask for help. She went back to room 7B alone. I think about that walk sometimes. How long it must have felt. How many steps between the office and that room. How each one must have cost her something. That was the last decision anyone made for her benefit. Everything after that was on their hands. In Nigerian folklore, a bush baby is not simply a ghost. It is not a spirit wandering, lost. A bush baby is what is born when a child enters the world without welcome and leaves it without justice. It carries the grief of its entry and the rage of its exit, and it does not rest. Not until the people who chose silence over a girl's life have faced what their silence made. My grandmother told me this when I was small. I thought it was just a story. It was not just a story. It had been waiting 3 years, patient the way only the wronged can be patient, because the wronged have nothing left to lose, and all the time in the world. I understand that patience. I was born with it too. It started with Mrs. Okonkwo, as it should have. She was alone in her office the way powerful people are alone, surrounded by the architecture of their own authority when the lamp began to flicker. She had spent 3 years filling every silence with noise, every night with work, every quiet moment with something loud enough to keep certain memories away. It did not matter. The sound found her anyway. It always finds the people it is looking for. I know this because it found me too, and I had done nothing wrong. It found me because I was the one who could hear it properly. She looked at the window. The amber eyes looked back. They were not threatening her. They were simply seeing her fully. And for the first time in 3 years, she could not manage how she was seen. I was told this part later, but I believe it. I have seen those eyes. There is nowhere to hide from them. Mrs. Okonkwo, who had never run from anything in 30 years, ran from her own office. She left her reading glasses on the floor, the lamp burning, the papers scattered, and the amber eyes at her window, watching until morning. Sister Ngozi came apart more quietly. She had been coming apart for 3 years already. In small ways, everyone noticed and nobody named. The weight she had lost, the way she startled at sounds, the light she left on all night, every night. I noticed all of that. Within my first week, I noticed everything. Guilt does that. Not the dramatic kind you see in films, not the screaming, the public breakdown, the quiet kind, the kind that just erodes you, grain by grain, night by night, until the person who stood in that corridor and said nothing is hollowed out completely. She felt something watching her from the back of the chapel. She did not turn around fully because she already knew what it was and she already knew it was right. I understand that too. Sometimes the thing you are most afraid of is the thing you most deserve to face. The tears came then, not from fear, from something she had not allowed herself in 3 years. The beginning of the truth working its way out of her body. And in the silence of that chapel, she made a decision. I did not know it yet, but that decision was going to change everything. I found Chisom's name in the school register 3 years back, neatly crossed out with a single red line and the word withdrawn written beside it, as if she had simply decided to leave, as if she had packed her bags and walked out the gate. I sat with that word for a long time, withdrawn, like she had chosen it. I went to the school garden and picked the only white flowers I could find, and I walked to the back fence. Bisi found me there. "Don't," she said. "Nobody goes near the bush." "I am not going in," I told her. "I am just going to the edge." She looked at me like I was out of my mind. Maybe I was, but I knew what I had to do. I looked at the amber eyes in the darkness of the trees. They looked back at me differently than I imagined they looked at the others. No threat in them. Something closer to recognition, like it had been waiting for someone like me, or maybe for me specifically. "Why are you doing this?" Bisi asked me. I held the flowers at the fence. "Because somebody should have come a long time ago," I said, "and nobody did. And it has been waiting 3 years for someone to simply show up." I placed the flowers at the fence. I did not go in. I did not need to. Some gestures do not need to be large to be heard. I have always known that. It was not the supernatural that brought them down. It was a letter written by Sister Ngozi at 4 a.m. after the chapel, after the amber eyes, after 3 years of erosion finally reaching the bone. I think about what it took for her to pick up that pen. I have had to pick up difficult pens in my life. I know what that costs. 3 pages, every detail, every decision, every silence. She slid it under the gate and walked to morning prayers. Her hands, for the first time in 3 years, were not clasped tight. I know this because she told me herself. Later, after everything, Mrs. Okonkwo was called out of assembly by 2 people she had never met. She did not come back. I watched her face when she saw them. She knew. People always know when the thing they have been running from has finally caught up. Sister Ngozi stood at the front of the school and looked at 400 girls in green and white, and for the first time in 3 years, she told the truth, all of it. I stood at the back and I watched her do it. It was one of the hardest things I have ever watched someone do. Some of them were crying. Some stood perfectly still. The truth has different effects on different people depending on how long they already knew. I was not crying. I was looking at the bush. In the full morning light, the amber eyes were gone. The crying stopped the morning. Sister Ngozi sent the letter, not gradually, just gone, like a breath released after being held for 3 years. And at the fence where I had left my flowers overnight, impossibly a circle of new wild white flowers had grown. Ones I did not plant, ones that did not belong to that part of the forest. Is it over? Bisi asked me. I thought about Chisom, about a scholarship girl, brilliant, quiet, who asked for nothing and received less than nothing from the people whose entire job was to protect her, about what it must have cost her, about 3 years of amber eyes in the dark waiting for someone to simply acknowledge what happened. I thought about what it feels like to be unseen. I have felt that too. They opened room 7B a week later. It was just a room, 4 walls, a window, old floor tiles. Nothing left except the date scratched into the door frame, stopped mid-digit. I stood in that doorway for a long time. I was thinking of her, the girl who had been there alone, the girl nobody came for. I picked one of the wild white flowers from the circle, held it for a moment, put it in my pocket, and went to class. Some spirits do not need revenge. They just need someone to look at what happened and refuse to look away. I know this because I am someone who refused to look away. And I am telling you this story now so that you will not look away either. If this story stayed with you, if you found yourself thinking about Chisom, about what was buried in that school, about the people who chose silence, subscribe to Moonlight Tales by Joy. New stories every Monday, Wednesday, Friday and Sunday. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and leave me a comment. Have you ever stayed silent when someone needed you to speak? Tell me honestly. I read every single one. Your next story is already waiting.